So today we're going to discuss the anatomy of twins. So first question is, what are the possible reasons why there are differences in identical twins despite having the same genes? So the number one reason is implantation. Must shower a shared placenta may mean one twin receives less nourishment than the other. As a result, it grows much more slowly, a condition called selective intrative growth. Ito mga twins na nag-share ng placenta, that's why they have differences between their body weight and height, even though they are twins. Nakakita na ba kayo ng twins pero they differ when it comes to their physical appearance? Patrick?
Yes, once. Yung napatanong ako sa sarili ko na magkamukha naman sila, pero may differences sa kanilang height at growth. Matangkad ang isa naman payat at tanda. Ayoko naman i-question sila pero baka ito ang dahilan ng implantation.
Jamie, meron ka bang experience?
Wala pa naman akong nakita na twins na may ganyang situation.
Okay. Mary?
Wala rin akong na-experience na ganyan.
Si Telen?
So far, hindi pa ako naka-encounter ng ganyan na case.
Ikaw, Sammy?
Same, hindi din ako naka-encounter ng ganyan.
Oh, I see. Alaina, naka-experience ka na ba ng ganito?
So far, sa mga twins na nakakarubido ko, same naman sila ng physical attributes.
Okay. So the second factor is environmental factors. So when an environmental influence is dominant, the trait similarity would be the same for identical and fraternal twins. The researchers found that both the environmental factors influence glucose metabolism in the brain, but they predominantly affected different areas. Because identical twins share all of their genes, their measurements of IQ and sleep time will be more similar the bigger role genes play in it. Example, differences between two identical twins must be caused by the environment because their genes are the same. So more likely, ang mga twins ay nai-influence nilang environment, decision at mga gusto buhay. Nakilala ko na twins, sila mag-basketball, dalawa, but they differ to their choices. Ang isa gusto maging IT, ang isa naman gusto maging police. So environment is also a factor that twins can be differ in their personal choices and decision. May maidagdag pa ba kayong experiences? Alaina?
Sa mga nakilala ko ng mga twins, they different din sa kanilang choices. Sa life, ang isa gusto maging accountant, at ang isa gusto maging guro.
Man is hindi ko masyadong maalala kasi nung elementary pa ako nang may mga classmate ako na twins pero na parehas sila ng pananamit dahil gusto nila maging parehas tas gusto na din ng kanang magulang na parehas silang damit kasi nga twins sila.
Telen, experience mo na ba ang ganito?
Nung high school ako, may twins akong classmates tapos pagka grade 11 ko, ang isa nag-UMS at ang isa naman ay nag-STEM. Pareho nga sila ng mukha pero nagkakaiba naman sila ng paniniwala.
Mary?
Sa akin ay may twins akong nakilala at tapos iba sila ng kurso dahil ayaw nila na parehas sila ng profession. So, they decided na magkaiba ang kursong kukunin nila para may difference naman sila sa isa't isa.
I see. Jamie?
May pinsan akong twins. Gusto nila pareho na maging guro.
Patrick?
Sa dami kong nakilala na twins, some of them gusto nila pareho sila ng course. Pero ang iba naman gusto magkaiba dahil nga sabi ni Mary gusto nila na may character sila na iba sa kanyang kapatid.
Oh, I see. So the third factor is development inside the womb. In some circumstances, twins can be fatal inside the womb because it can cause some internal problems. Examples of of this are parasitic and conjoined twins which can be fatal to the children when growing. Dito naman sa number 3, ang ibang twins naman ay may bad fate talaga. Twins nga sila pero ang isa hindi nag-separate sa isang zygote niya kaya ang tendency may mga parasitic twin na nabubuo or conjoined twins na ating tinatawag. Sa parasitic twins, same sila ng genes but isa ay hindi fully separated sa isa kaya nagre-rely lang siya sa kanyang isang twin na fully developed at kumukuha ng nourishment dito hindi ito buo. Sa conjoined twins naman, nabuo sila pero hindi rin totally separated. Mahirap ito i-separate kasi iisa ang kanilang organ na ginagamit. Do you have any experiences dito, Patrick?
Wala, pero madami na ako nakita na ganyan sa TV.
I see. Telen, may experience ka ba sa ganito?
Pareho lang din kay Patrick. Sa TV ko lang din nakita mga ganyan na cases.
Ah, Jamie, ikaw, baka may na-experience kang ganito.
Yes, sa akin naman, sa TV at YouTube ko napapanood ang ganito na problema. Sa pagtingin ko sa YouTube, may nakita kong documentary na conjoined twins. Sabi ng doktor, mahirap talaga daw i-separate ang twins kasi nga iisa ang kanilang ulo at baka mahirap na i-separate dahil ikakamatay ng dalawa ito. Pero pag ang conjoint naman ang nagkadikit lang sa likod ay pwede itong ma-separate at pwedeng maligtas ang dalawang bata.
Oh, I see. Sami, may nakita ka ba or na-experience na ganito?
Sa TV lang at sa social media like Facebook, doon ka lang sila nakita.
I see. Mary, may na-experience ka bang na ganito or nakita na rin?
May nakita na ako
Okay.
na ganyan sa KMJS kung saan tinulungan nila ang batang may kadikit na kapatid na hindi fully separated sa kanyang twin. So sabi ng doktor, kung hindi daw kukunin, baka ikamatay niya ito dahil naghahati sila ng nourishment. Nakakaawa ang bata pero nang dahil sa KMJS, natulungan nila ito at natanggal ang parasitic twins.
I see. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you've learned something new. Let's continue to the second question.
The next question would be, what biological theory that may help explain the possible cause of male homosexuality? O ano daw yung rason kung bakit may mga male homosexuals? Base sa nakita niyo sa video, yung pinasa ni Sir, ang primary cause nito ay ang relationship ng hypothalamus at ang male hormone na tinatawag natin na testosterone. First of all, ano nga pala yung hypothalamus? May nakakaalam ba kung ano yung hypothalamus dyan?
Diba yung
Any idea?
hypothalamus, yan yung responsible sa ating emotion, di ba?
Ano pa?
Oo.
Sino?
Sabi ng science teacher ko dati, ito daw yung parang responsible sa kung sino yung love o yung nagugustuhan natin.
Tama. How about testosterone? Sinong nakakaalam kung ano yung testosterone? May idea ba kung ano yung testosterone?
For me, I guess ito yung sex hormone na makikita sa mga lalaki. Am I right?
Tama. So, ang testosterone, ito ay ang hormone na makikita sa mga lalaki. Produce ito sa testes ng lalaki at responsible ito sa sperm production at iba pa. So, Telen?
During the first few weeks, all fetuses develop along similar lines if nothing changed. We would all be born female. Fetuses with male Y chromosomes will form testes at about week 6.
So, pagdating daw ng 6th week, ang fetus na may male or Y chromosomes ay magka-develop daw sila ng testes.
So, ibig sabihin niya, Presente talaga yung testosterone ng mga lalaki nung fetus pa sila.
Oo, magkaka-produce na yung mga male fetuses ng testosterone pagdating ng 6th week. At saka sa 6th week kasi, diyan natin malalaman kung yung baby ba ay lalaki o babae. Anyways,
Testosterone masculinizes the body. It also masculinizes the brain, including the part called hypothalamus, the part of network which controls who we find sexy and attractive. So, tama yung sinabi nila Carl at Alain na kanina. So, sa infographic, sabi dito na some scientists believe that the more hypothalamus is exposed to testosterone, the more it sets the stage for sexual inclination towards women. So, ibig sabihin dito na nakadepende talaga yung masculinity ng lalaki sa amount na testosterone na na-receive ng hypothalamus ng fetus pa lang ito. So, yun lang.
After all of us watched the video entitled In the Womb, Identical Twins uploaded by the Naked Science, this question sinks in our mind in which how does epigenetics works and what previous science of DNA it debunked.
So, epigenetics reveals that their DNA code may be the same, but the function is different. The previous science of DNA debunked the process of methylation, in which genetics are investigating a previously unknown aspect of the genome called is epigenome. So there is a series of chemicals that act as a switches capable of activating or deactivating individual genes. One of those where a switches works.
This causes enzymes inside a cell to attach a minuscule molecular compound, a methyl group to a gene. This compound can deactivate or at times activate the gene, but the gene remains the cell's DNA profile is unchanged.
So it explains how the difference between Jake and Tom that some as yet unidentified environmental factor.
Yes, an early cell development has caused a methyl group to attach itself to a gene on one of Tom's chromosomes, a gene associated with growth.
In which the growth gene is still there, but it's been switched off by investigating the mystery twins like Tom and Jake.
So from what I have heard and learned is that geneticists are finally beginning to find clues to some of the great mysteries of the human genome in which the map of chromosomes.
yes, I agree. Belonging to identical twins from the left, age 3, and other two twins in the video, age 50 on the right. The red markings are an indication of the increase in the methylation that has occurred to their chromosomes.
All of you made the right point. Over half a century, we know that factors like smoking diet and chemical exposure can, over a lifetime, wreak havoc with how genes operate. And what's outstanding is that there are different environmental influences in not only our lifetime, but also in utero hormones. Space quality of nutrition can all affect identical embryos differently, even those sharing a placenta. The activation and deactivation of genes during early development.
This also could explain many of the twists of fate that affects us all. Why one person is struck by disease while is another is spread like healthy. Also, epigenetics may also play a significant role in determining sexuality. If sexual preferences is associated with an as yet identified gene, it all may be the epigenetic suspension or activation of this gene dictates sexual preferences.
So that's why I have a friend who are twins, but one of them is gay while the other one is straight. So they switch their genetics.
It is. These genetic switches may be the answer to why one twin observes more testosterone than the other, resulting in one being gay and the other straight.
Indeed, it's becoming clear that our health, personality, tastes, and even appearance are not the product of either our genes or our environment, but that nature and nurture are inextricably bound with epigenetics. Moving to the next reporter, thank you.
So, as we've watched the video in the womb identical twins by Naked Science, we explore a lot of knowledge on how does genes influence personality. So as what you have read in our infographic plaster on the screen, personality is not determined by any single gene, but rather by the action of many genes working together. Influences of gene reaches beyond how we look. Genes affect personality and even taste through making us flamboyant rather than shy, with a taste of coffee instead of tea, and a love or routine or desire or experimentation. It explained that even working together, genes are not so powerful that they can control or create our personality. Some genes tend to increase a given characteristic and others work to decrease that same characteristic. The complex relationship among the various genes produces the final outcome. On the video, it was clearly stated that inside the womb, a battle for space is raging. A scan reveals the struggle and perhaps even a glimpse of emerging personalities. Ultrasound studies combines with observation of twins after birth show a very early of shy or extrovert behavior. For example, in one study of fraternal twins, the shy twin would occasionally hang onto his umbilical cord and even appear to lick it, while his sister would seek to grab, kick, and push him. Intriguingly, this pattern continued after birth. At first, at first years old age, the shy twin still exhibited retiring behavior while his more extrovert sister would try to grab and play with him.
So our personality may well begin to form in the womb.
Exactly. Our personality may well begin to form in our womb. That's because personality starts to form in utero, while genetics play a huge role in how new babies respond to stimulation, react to unexpected circumstances, and deal with emotion and also environmental factors and some of the things parents do, such as talking, singing, or eating a diverse diet. It may also have an impact on how the babies come out of the womb. The offspring can get either his or her or his father traits or her or his mother traits.
I think gene really affects the personality because I saw some hobby or even pictures of my parents that I've got.
Observe that too. And sometimes they say na, mana ka talaga sa mama mo or kaya mana ka talaga sa tatay mo kasi ganito ka ganyan and other way around.
Sometimes if you're known on your place, people can pinpoint about the personality, the attitudes, and hobby of that family.
Yes, it may or it may not, but remember guys, gene work won't work alone. It work together. The genes of the both of your parents working together, and it creates the personality, and it mixes with both your parents and make out a new personality that either of your both parents don't have.
I've noticed that at the end of the video, there was a sentence stated, as we grow, facing diverse experiences and influences make them more different with each other. We shed a new light on the complex mix of genetic and environment, nature, and nurture that makes each of us unique. So it means that even personality influences environment, nature, even personality influences environment nature, not just a mixture of genetic itself. So a shy twin, for example, as according to Alina, as an introvert and extrovert, how can you expound their personality, Patrick?
Um, an extrovert person, for example, might become somewhat more reserved over time. This does not mean that they will transform into an introvert. It simply means that a subtle shift has occurred and the person's extroversion has been slightly modified.
So, Mr. Talen, what does it mean?
It means that the individual is still outgoing and gregarious, but they might find that they also enjoy solitude or more quiet settings on occasion.
Exactly, Patrick and Telen. So, when it comes to some of the broad dominant traits, for example, as an extrovert, yes, according to Patrick and Talen, change tends to be difficult because when it does occur, these changes tend to be very subtle. Somehow it is because of the environmental influence. So, how about an introvert one, Miss Sami?
So, an introvert, on the other hand, may find themselves become somewhat more extroverted as they grow older. This does not mean that the individual suddenly develops a desire to be the center of attention.
So,
Um,
Miss Mary, what do you mean by that, according to Sami?
I think it means that this person may find that they begin to enjoy social events a bit more and feel less exhausted and drained after they spend time socializing
Yes,
outside.
yes. Mary and Sami, you are both correct. So, Car, what can you say about their explanation and examples about introvert and the extrovert?
In both of these examples, the individual's core personality trait has not changed altogether. Instead, changes over time, often the result of experiences through nature or environment experiences, have led to subtle shifts in these central traits.
Very well said, Car. It is very important to note to us, yes, everyone, that personality is considered a multifactorial trait, meaning many factors, both genetic and environmental nature, can come into play. As an example, there is no one gene for extroversion or introversion. So that would be all. Thank you. Thank you for listening.